So let's kind of shift towards our interactive section. And so one of our team members sent me this question.
It's a really interesting question. And this is actually, we have to realize, and that's why I was talking about that we really have to fundamentally change, and everybody is now hoping to go back to normal life. But that is not possible. We have to really learn the lessons of COVID. So, for example, here in the United States, I live here in a rural area, and people are always busy. And the lesson of COVID is actually that it is good to slow down, that it's good to go for walks, that it is good to be out in nature. And I think we all have to think deeply. What I just said is what's important in life. And I think there are some lessons also that it's good to get together as a family. But I also think, and I will lay this out here, is that there are some basic principles we have to actually dig deeper into, and that we need to look at nature, what the long-term solutions are. And so that's what I try to do. It's not just the short-term 4 weeks, 3 months experiences in COVID. It is actually a much deeper and fundamental transition and change we have to do. I hope it's actually a very interesting question, and I would actually love to go back and forth here. Maybe we can do that at the end of the lecture, and because I think you may have really good ideas there also. You have to do something about your brick buildings, and you would need, the kilns, and you would need to do something about the cement factories, right? So how I would approach it is, in the long term, you really have to think about other materials, right? But in the short term, you really need to add filters to the kiln, right? To bring down the air pollution, and build buildings with eco bricks, right? But if you continue and go back to normal, there's nothing what you can do except for filtering it out. That's really a problem right now. And that's actually a sign for that our economic model doesn't actually work, because we are running out of fossil fuel, but the price is actually really down because of political reasons between the Arab countries and Russia, right? And the US, right? So it's a pure political reason. And unfortunately, we need to get we are still at peak oil, and we are just delaying and contributing right now to, people may use more oil. I don't know. Do you think in Nepal they do? So we really have to, the young generation has to think about, and I know everybody loves their motorcycle and everybody loves their car in the US, but we have to think about that. Yes, and actually, if you go to the UN development goals, especially Nepal is very, because Nepali governments love to write reports, right? Or that seems to me. So, you know, the government and the policies and so forth, that is actually because that is a way in for people to really make a difference, right? But I think we need both. We need the government, but we also need action by everybody. Everybody is responsible. So, electric vehicles, it depends. And this is the reason, is because electric vehicles need, of course, electricity, and it depends. They are good if the electricity comes from solar panels or from renewable energy sources. But if your electricity, like here in the US, is made from coal firing plants, then there is no benefit of electricity. Of electric vehicles. Do you understand? Electric vehicles are great, but at the same time, we have to increase our renewable energy sources too. I'm all for it. It's actually a very important approach to think about. That's what nature tells us. And I think Nepal, again, is unfortunately now catching up with the United States pretty quickly in terms of what do you say, in terms of packaging and so forth and so forth. But it's crazy if you really start to think about how much material is used just for packaging. And actually, there is even for businesses, there is a really famous example here in the US. He was a billionaire and he produced carpets for the for the industry and for houses and so forth. And he increased his profits by just reducing the waste. He changed the model, how they thought about how to produce carpets, and they didn't use the waste, and they didn't use waste anymore. So they didn't need to spend money on all the materials, and they increased their profits. And I don't know, another approach to zero waste style is, of course, what is called the circular economy. And that's what KRMEF shows a little bit also, is that, and that's what nature shows us, if you have waste products in one factory, for example, these waste products can be often used in other industries, and so that requires cooperation. Well, I would love to hear what you think about that. It actually really shows us several things. One I mentioned already, and we already had talked about it, is the good news is that nature really can bounce back, because there is a lot of concern that we are talking about thresholds, that with all of our environmental problems, we might be beyond nature to recover. But COVID has shown us that nature, if we allow it to work, that it can rebound, which is good news. But it also shows us in terms of sustainability, what I showed at the very beginning, that we have to respect nature, that we have to recognize we need to be part of nature. And if we destroy the balance of nature and our balance with nature, then we have more pandemic outbreaks.
And there is a follow-up question that says, what can the global response to COVID-19 teach us about our response to climate change?
I would answer that more on a personal level, and from my experience in terms of the community of our lifestyle, that COVID forced us basically to have a much more simple lifestyle at home, and that's what will be required with respect to climate change also, is that we have to change our lifestyles here, at least here in the United States. And so I think it showed us that another life is possible, right? But it also, COVID showed us the necessity to do something about climate change, because it showed us how vulnerable our economic system is, and that we have to do something about sustainability. It's pretty clear, and that we have to do something about climate change. How we continue our normal life, our economy, it's just not possible. We have to go back to our basic assumptions of capitalism. And if you think about when the economic model was developed in Britain 200 years ago, right, in the 1800s, and we are still building, that's the basic of our economic system. The assumptions they built the economic ideas on were very different than what we have right now. It was an empty world, and now we have 7 billion people. We have made a decision on, they had plenty of resources. We are running out now of resources. And the other fundamental problem is that it's the difference between price and value. So how our economic system runs is that we think about the price of buying something, right? But that doesn't include the idea, for example, nature. The destruction of nature is not part of the price. That we buy only cheap T-shirts because we are exploiting the workers in developing countries, in Bangladesh, in Nepal, right? And the real price of the health for the people is not part of the price and how our economic system is run. So I am not completely against capitalism, and it's a whole discussion, and I'm not an economist, but we have to think about to pay the real price, what it costs. And if we pay, for example, the real price, what it costs to produce a t-shirt here in the West, then it would cost maybe $50, and we wouldn't have 100 t-shirts in our cupboard, in our closet, but we may have only 2 or 3, right? And that's the problem from my point of view about capitalism. There are groups, economists working on it, on a sustainable economy models, and these are out there, right? I'm just not an expert in it. Well, I think what I know from the mountains, and I saw earlier a question, of course, the hydropower. That hydropower is great potential, and I also know that the Chinese have quite a bit of investment, you know, close to where Furba lives, close to, hold on. I have a blank right now. Close to Langtang. There are several hydro plants, and I think that is helpful. But what the real problem is with hydropower, that it takes a lot of investment, and that you need to transport the power also all over the country, which is technologically really a problem in a country with the geology and the landscape of Nepal, like in yeah, in the mountains. But my answer would be really local solar powers. That's really the best way. Actually, I was involved in a project. I actually have an adopted son in Nepal, and he lives close to Langtang, and we collected funds for solar panels in the village. And so each member in the village got a solar panel, and the investment for Westerners was actually not that big. The why it really works well is now, even during monsoon, they don't have, you know, the lines, they don't fall over, you don't have shutdown, right? So local solar panels work really, really well in terms of electricity. That's, I think, what you really should continue. And worldwide, solar panels are getting cheaper and cheaper also. So 10 years ago, they were still expensive, but they become more and more affordable relatively.
Thank you so much, Renate. Thank you. The entire team would like to thank you for supporting this initiative and being here talking about sustainability with us. Please do not forget to share about us with your friends and make this platform bigger so that we can impact more towards our country. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I hope you all are healthy and doing the social distancing. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you guys all soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. I really had fun, and thanks for being here.